Thank you for joining me tonight. It's intended to be a very informal exploration of some practices and principles and some ideas. Maybe time for some questions and answers, maybe time for some discussion. But I thought we would start tonight with a 15-minute meditation. Very simple, straightforward meditation intended quite deliberately just to bring some calmness, to allow us to arrive, to allow us to be here now. So I will offer some guidance, and I'll turn my video off and put some instructions on the screen. So if your microphones at the moment are intentionally turned off for the period of meditation, and then during the talk and questions and answers, we'll unmute your microphones, or you'll be able to unmute yourself at that time. So feel free to leave your video on, or if you prefer to turn your video off, that would be that's okay as well. It can be something to be a little bit distracting if people have their videos on. So it might just take a moment, wherever you are, just to adapt a posture that's as upright and as dignified as can be managed where you are. I'm sitting on a sofa, so it's not quite the same as sitting on a cushion, but a posture that's upright and dignified, and particularly represents a posture that might represent your heart's desire to awaken, your heart's desire to move away from suffering, to move towards the end of suffering. Your heart's desire to find that perfect, unshakable liberation of the heart, a freedom from cravings, a freedom from aversions, and a freedom from confusions. So we sit in this dignified, alert posture that represents our heart's desire. We might let our eyes gently close. We let our face be soft. Allow our jaw to relax. Let the shoulders drop back naturally to open up the heart area. Allow your hands and your arms to rest easily. Maybe your hands in your lap or on your thighs. And just feel yourself grounded, connected with the ground. Points of contact with your cushion or your chair, your feet on the floor. Knowing that you're supported, you're here amongst fellow travellers on this path leading away from avoidable suffering. If possible, let your belly be soft. Perhaps taking a very full, deep breath in and a very long, slow breath out. Feeling the breath in the whole body. Letting go of any tension, any stress. And perhaps one more time, a very deep, full breath in. And a very long, slow breath out. Feeling the breath in the whole body. For the next 15 minutes or just under, you're invited to practice this calm and pleasant abiding in the here and now. For the next 15 minutes, there's nowhere to go, nothing to do. There's no one special to be or to become. Just be yourself. The Buddha's instructions for this serenity breath meditation is really quite simple. Breathing in, I'm fully aware of the in-breath. And breathing out, I'm fully aware of the out-breath. Now, inevitably, your mind will wander away from the breath. That's what it does. When you notice this has happened, you just smile. Make a very friendly, very gentle, silent, non-judgmental note of not breath. And with a smile, we return our whole awareness to this magical process of breathing. Breathing in, I'm fully aware of the in-breath. And breathing out, I'm fully aware of the out-breath. Our whole practice is grounded and founded on this universal, boundless friendliness. Friendliness to ourselves, a friendliness to others, a friendliness to our experience. So you're encouraged to smile inwardly. And just like all the best Buddha statues around the world, you're invited to smile outwardly. You're encouraged to take delight in this moment, to take delight in this only moment. Breathing in, I'm fully aware of the in-breath. And breathing out, I'm fully aware of the out-breath. the cultivation of serenity, the cultivation of tranquility, cultivation of calm and pleasant abiding in the here and now is a very important practice within mindfulness traditions, within meditation traditions, and a hugely useful tool, whether you're new to meditation or new to recovery, or whether you've been doing it for as long as you can remember. The Vietnamese teacher Thich Nhat Hanh offers a lovely couplet of phrases to go with our in-breath and our out-breath that encourages this calmness, it encourages tranquility. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Perhaps taking a very full, deep breath in and a very long, slow breath out. Feeling the breath in the whole body, feeling it calm the body, trying to let go of stress and tension. And just be here now. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, just be yourself. Breathing in, calm my body, and breathing out, I smile. In a minute or two, I shall ring the bell 3 times to bring this period of meditation to a close. And at that time, you're invited to maintain your posture, to maintain your meditation, just until you hear the 3rd bell. And in maintaining our posture, in maintaining our meditation until we hear the 3rd bell, we might start to loosen the grip of our habitual need to move away from what we feel is discomfort, to move towards what we think will be the end of discomfort. We just start to loosen the grip of that habit. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming along tonight for this series of the first of this series of talks. Primarily going through the Hungry Ghost booklet, which you can download on from the Fifth Precept website or the Hungry Ghost website. There's links there, and this is primarily is a booklet I give out on Hungry Ghost retreats, and it's short because I handprint them and I fold them and I staple them, and it started off at about 24 pages. It's now up to 48 pages. I don't know, so it's very condensed, and what it contains is my formulation, my formulation, the putting together of the things that I wish someone had told me 23 years ago. First of all, in the sense of entering sobriety, of waking up one day sober and wanting to stay sober, and feeling I had no support. But equally, I wish someone had shared these ideas and these principles to me perhaps before that moment, just as a way to lead my life, a way that takes so much avoidable suffering out of my life and out of the lives of the people around me. So the idea was, over these 8 weeks, was just to go through the main themes of this booklet, and along the lines of I can't see here, of truth or commitment, or truths and truthfulness, generosity, harmlessness, loving kindness and compassion and joy and equanimity. Forgiveness is very important, and also on the Hungry Ghost website and the Fifth Precept website, there's the Forgiveness Workbook, so that might be worth downloading before we get to forgiveness. Quite some way down the line, we get to mindfulness and meditation, and that's intentional, being that far down this this path. And we move on to fellowship, which is what we're doing here tonight, is supporting ourselves and supporting each other. And for me, the last 21 years, at least of those 23 years, you know, this path can lead to a very comfortable and relaxed way of being in the world. So I was going to start with truth tonight, truth and truthfulness in all of its, or let's start with the way it's laid out in the Hungry Ghost booklet. I'm very conscious of time, and we're already 24 minutes past the hour. Many of you will have heard me talk about my sitting at the kitchen table in England, pouring my last glass of beer and making a promise to myself never to drink again or switch addictions. And there's lots of podcasts on the Hungry Ghost website, links to podcasts on the Hungry Ghost website, where I talk about this process, and where I talk about this Sajja, or truth and truthfulness, on lots of podcasts. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here, other than, you know, I got to a point in my life where everything had to change. Whether it was alcohol or sex or sugar or shopping or codependency, it doesn't matter. I got to a point where my life had to change. And so I sat at my kitchen table and made that vow to myself. But then for the next couple of years, I was miserable because I was abstaining. I thought I was stopping myself doing something I wanted to do. But I got involved with a charity who took drug addicts from the UK to a monastery in Thailand, and I ended up as chairman of the charity after attending the first trustee meeting. So I went to this monastery in Thailand, and I'm lucky enough to meet the founding abbot, and he showed me this lovely herbal detox, herbal medicine, herbal pills, herbal steam baths, very effective, very rapid, very real detox. And then he said, this is only 5% of what we offer. The other 95% of successful treatment is a vow, is a promise, is a commitment to change one's life. And I couldn't help looking back at myself and think, well, that's what I haven't done. I've been trying to be abstinent for 2 years, and I haven't really yet surrendered to the truth of my addiction. And I haven't really committed to a life without intoxicants. But as soon as he said that, the distinction between abstinence as something that was keeping me a prisoner to my past, and abandonment that really was enabling a new life, a new future, leaving the past behind, that distinction really resonated with me. And at that point, I moved from a half-hearted recovery to what I would term a wholehearted recovery. This was the new life I wanted. I didn't want the old life anymore. So this commitment, this vow, this intention is known as a Sajja. In Pali, it's spelled S-A-C-C-A. In Thai, it's spelled S-A-J-J-A. It's pronounced something like S-A-T-C-H-A, Sajja, a Sajja. And Sajja means truth, or a realization of the truth, a commitment to the truth, being truthful. It has a broad range of meanings. And in a traditional Buddhist sense, it closely linked with the area Sajja, with the 4 ennobling Sajjas, these 4 noble truths. So we have Sajja as truthfulness, as a truth, something that can be true, as a realization. Sajja as someone who is truthful, someone who can be trusted. There's actually there are savings banks in Thailand that are known as Sajja banks, Sajja saving banks, where people commit, they make a promise to deposit a certain amount of money each month. And that, so we have this idea of Sajja as a truth, as truthfulness, a practice of truthfulness, and as in what Tampa box sense, this Buddhist monastery sense, as a commitment to changing our life, as an aspiration. And so we have these 3 aspects of truth. And I'm just going to go. So let me start with the Tampa box Sajja, with this drug and alcohol Sajja. So I sat at my kitchen table and I made this vow to myself that this would be the last drink I ever took, and that quite intentionally I wasn't going to swap addictions to dope or anything else. I was going to white knuckle it. I was going to lead the rest of my life intoxicant free. At the monastery in Thailand, this is what they require you to make such a vow before they'll allow you in for treatment. And if you break that vow, if you relapse, you're not allowed back for a second treatment. It's a one chance treatment. So this intentionality, which the monastery has a very focused teaching, very focused presentation of what would be traditional Buddhist teachings, and they focus on 2 things. They focus on Sajja as a truth, and the practice of Sajja as a truth, and on karma, that your actions are intentional, and we are responsible for the results of our actions. So if you make a vow or a commitment, you stick to it. If you don't manage to hold on to that vow or commitment, then it's possible that because of certain results will happen. So in terms of drug addiction and relapse, I've never known anyone to have a good relapse. If you relapse invariably, it's dark, what would be termed dark karma, a dark action. And I reference karma here as karma, the truth of karma being one of these truths in the first category of Sajja. So the Buddha offering us the idea that our thoughts, our words, and our actions lead to results, and we are the owners of those results. And he said that bright thoughts, bright words, bright actions generally lead to bright results, whereas dark thoughts, dark words, and dark actions generally lead to dark results. In fact, the front of the Hungry Ghost book depicts this. This comes from a traditional Wheel of Becoming painting, and the center always has these greed, hatred, and delusion as represented by the cock, the pig, and the snake. And then it has the representation of karma, and dark karma leads down to the hell realms and misery. Bright karma leads up to the heaven realms and happiness. It's a very pictorial, sort of early PowerPoint. So the truth of karma. One of the abbots at the monastery used to say, "Actions do not die." So we're responsible for our actions. Actions do not die. There's a lovely blessing, a Sri Lankan blessing, where the monks would go out on alms round in full robes, in bare feet, and holding their alms bowl, and they stand on a village corner. And over the centuries, they've developed a catalogue of blessings that they would offer to a donor, whoever put food in their bowl. They would offer one of these vast catalogue of blessings. And one of these blessings was translated by one of my teachers, by John Peacock. And the blessing goes, "This life is but a play of joy and sorrow. May we remain undisturbed by life's rise and fall. But you are the owner of your actions and their fruit, and sadly, I cannot keep you from distress." It's a lovely reminder that our thoughts, our words, and our actions are ours and ours alone. Thich Nhat Hanh offers a presentation of an early Buddhist talk, where the Buddha says you should remember 5 things. He says you should remember that you're going to grow old, and you can't stop yourself growing old. You should remember that you're going to get sick, and you cannot stop yourself getting sick. You should remember that you're going to die. There's nothing you can do to stop yourself from dying. He says you should remember that everything you love, everyone you love, every experience you love, you will be separated from them, either them from you or you from them. And lastly, you should remember that your only true possessions in the world are your thoughts, the results of your thoughts, your words, and your actions, the results of your karma. So, truth as a commitment, as a vow, as an embodied intentionality. So this intentionality is so important when it comes to karma. And then truth as truthfulness, as someone who can be trusted, trustworthy, who speaks honestly, truthfully. Again, that's a karmic quality, a quality to be aspired to. And of course, right speech and the precept of not to speak untruthfully and to speak kindly are very important on this path, and they help us to move away from avoidable suffering. And then we get to the first category of Sajja that I started with, this Sajja as a truth, Sajja as a realization. And I suppose the first, or perhaps the most important truths on the Buddhist path we might refer to are these four ennobling truths. The Buddha came to this idea that there are four truths to life. The first truth being that life is difficult, life is stressful, life is painful, life's unfair. A lot of what happens to us is totally impersonal. So life has inherent inbuilt suffering. And the second noble truth, the suffering is both of bodily or physical nature, of birth, sickness, old age, and death, and of mental nature, emotional nature, pain, sorrow, pain, lamentation, grief, and despair. And he said that a lot of our unavoidable suffering is caused by our cravings and our aversions and our confusion. And as a second noble truth, I don't view one as the first noble truth is causing the second noble truth, or second noble truth causing the first noble truth. I'd rather see them as a negative feedback loop, that our resistance, our aversion to how things really are, and our inability to accept the truth of this life, the inherent and natural, unavoidable suffering. It forms this negative feedback loop, and we do all sorts of things to avoid reality. And then he offers the good news in the third noble truth, that he says that there is a way from avoidable suffering, and a way of coming into relationship with unavoidable suffering. And then he offers us this eightfold path as one way of fulfilling that. So I'm aware that it's 22, and I think, so let me just finish from a personal perspective. So for years before that fateful night in my kitchen in Newbury in England, and I'm pouring that last beer, where I'd been drinking alcoholically for 25 years from the age of 13 onwards, I'd always denied that I had a problem. I always denied that I was an alcoholic. So one aspect of my truth when I got to that point was I had to surrender to the truth that I was an alcoholic. So for me, the first part of any change, of any move away from suffering towards the end of suffering, was this surrender to reality. This is the truth. And then from that, an embodied commitment to move in a certain direction. So I think it's time to unmute the microphones. Or in fact, I won't unmute microphones, but you are allowed to unmute your microphone. If you've got any questions, feel free to unmute your microphone and ask. Or if you'd like to type a question, you can type a question into the chat box, and I'll try and answer from there.
Hi, Vince. Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Who's that speaking?
My name's Joanna.
Hi, Joanna.
Hi. So, I've been studying Buddhism for a bit now at the Manchester Buddhist Centre, but this is a totally new platform for me, where I don't know anyone other than JJ and Karina, who are also here, I've seen. Mm-hmm. But I've not been able to be completely open because it's been face to face, and now I feel like I want to be completely open. So I think I'm an alcoholic. well, I'm an alcoholic. I'm sat here tonight and I've had a drink. I'm watching you having had a drink. That makes me very upset. And you are, you know, what I joined the meeting late, but you're so very inspiring, and I love Buddhism, but at the same time, I feel like I need to connect to a group of people that understand what I'm going through. I tried so hard today not to have a drink, and the feeling was so strong, and I succumbed to it. And now I feel really bad, and I'm completely beating myself up that I'm sat here listening to you, not totally with it. Oh no. But, and the fact that I've had a drink though is making me speak up, you know, and because I'm not as cautious as I normally am.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It absolutely is. So, I mean, first of all, did you say Joanne or Joanna?
Joanna.
Joanna, you know, there's this aspect of truth that says, you know, right now it's like this. It's a term phrase or a term coined by a Buddhist monk, and it's, you know, it just right now it's like this, and you can put a question mark after that phrase, or you can put an exclamation mark. So right now it's like this, or right now it's like this. How is it right now it's like this? And right now it's like this is, you know, where we are at this very moment in time can't be changed, but where we're going to go in the next moment, that's under our power. That's our karma.
Yeah.
We choose where we go next. So one of the truths that we look for, and one of the truths that the Buddha told people to look for, when people said to the Buddha, look, who do we believe here? You've come along and you're telling us that we should do this. We have teachers come here every other week telling us, you know, the last teacher was wrong and this is what you should do. Who are we supposed to believe? And the Buddha said, well, he just tried to point them in the right way. And he said, well, you know, does greed, does craving lead to, you know, your benefit and welfare, or does it lead to your misery and suffering? And the villager said, well, yeah, it leads to misery and suffering. Well, you know, does aversion, does hatred lead to your benefit and welfare, or does it lead to your misery and suffering? And then the villager said to him, well, yeah, it leads to misery and suffering.
He
said to the villagers, you know, does confusion, does delusion lead to your welfare and benefit, or does it lead to suffering and misery? And the villagers had to say, well, it leads to suffering and misery. He said, well, there you are. So anything you're told, anything you do, does this teaching, does this path lead to your benefit and welfare, or does it lead to your misery and suffering? That's the acid test. Is what I'm doing going to lead me to misery? Is it going to lead me to benefit and welfare? So it doesn't matter what path you're on, whether you're on an AA path, a Buddhist path, whether you're on your own path. We need to recognize what is suffering and avoidable suffering in particular, and do what we can to move further away from it.
Yeah.
So beating ourselves up is just more misery and suffering.
I know it's hard though.
Just accepting, you know, this is how things are right now, and I commit to changing things. Part of this path, if you download and print off the Hungry Ghost booklet, you know, part of the path is fellowship. Hugely important to connect with like-minded people. When the Buddha's cousin said, "Sir, half the spiritual path is camaraderie, is companionship." And the Buddha said, no. He said, no, Ananda. He said, no, the whole of the path, admirable friendship, admirable camaraderie, is the whole of the path. So having good friends along the way is so important. So, you know, you come here tonight to listen, to to provide support for everyone else and to provide support for yourself. You can't do any more than that, Joanna. You might commit, you know, there's a suggestion, the Buddha's got 5 suggestions about how to take a lot of suffering out of your life. It's a very simple suggestion. Don't go around killing people. Don't go around taking anything that doesn't belong to you. Be sexually responsible. Try to tell the truth and say it kindly. And he said it's really not a good idea to take drugs and alcohol. But he doesn't tell us not to. He just says, well, do these things lead to your benefit and welfare, or do they lead to your misery and suffering?
Well, it's quite obvious they lead to. It's quite obvious to me now they lead to misery and suffering. But I'm still in that stage where I have that moment of going, oh, it'll be really good, it'll be really good. And then for the first half an hour, it's really good. And then it changes. And now I'm at the point, you know, today where I'm like, it's not really good anymore. And then that's exacerbated by the fact that I'm sat here going, why have I done this? Why am I not listening to this talk fully aware? And I think that's, you know, a pivotal moment for me going, I wish I wasn't like, I had no idea what this talk was all about, who you were. It was sent to me by a friend. So I was just like, oh, whatever. And then at one point I was like, oh, I'm not even going to do it. But then I just thought, why not? I'll do it. It's online. And now I'm sat here thinking, why have I had a drink? And, you know, I get the whole, you know, values and why we should do things, but I'm sat, and I know we shouldn't beat ourselves up, but I am sat here beating myself up because it's like I said in my Buddhism course class last night, our last one of the first course, I said, you know, I'm very good with other people, but when it comes to me, I beat myself up constantly. The person that I'm most worried about is me. It's not other people and the way I treat other people. It's me. I, you know, I'm capable of self-harm in lots of ways. And that's the most worrying thing for me.
Okay. Jenna, I'm very conscious of time. I'm conscious we've got an awful lot of people here.
Sorry.
Can I just suggest to you that we have there's an online sit and share meeting which follows this format, or it follows the ideas within the Hungry Ghost booklet, and it's online. It runs on Mondays and Thursdays, and you're very welcome to join that meeting any time. In 2 weeks' time, on 2 Wednesdays' time from now, we'll be looking at self-love, self-compassion, self-appreciation, and self-balance, which are so important on this path, because we try to change our life, and as you say, we don't need to go to the hell realms. We're very good at torturing ourselves. Self-loathing, self-hatred, unforgiveness. So it's something that is recognised, and there are tools here to address it. And week 3, I hope we'll be looking at some of those tools and actually practicing them. So thank you very much, Jonah. Thanks for coming along tonight. And please, you know, have a look up the sit and share meetings.
I will.
And you might find that the Forgiveness Workbook that's downloadable alongside the Hungry Ghost booklet, the Forgiveness Workbook might also be very beneficial to you. And that emphasises the idea that, you know, that's who I was, it's not who I am, and it's not who I will be. So
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I'm
you.
conscious of the time, and I would like the 5-minute meditation at the end of tonight's talk, if we don't go too far over. So would anyone else like to comment or have a question or complain?
Hi Vince, it's Andy. Hi.
Hi Andy.
Hi, it's nice to see you. Thank you, Vince. Thank you for sharing your experience, Joanna. I mean, I've relaxed many times. I mean, you know, me and Vince go back some time now.
Andrew, can I just hold you, because what I'd like to do,
yeah,
this isn't a sit and share meeting, so I'd like to keep.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a basic observation. You know, I used to have a sense that, you know, I did things when I was drinking that had a karmic effect in my life, in my meditation. And I used to think, well, that means I'm just going to have to suffer now the results of that for the rest of my life. What's the point of meditating on that if that means I've got to run those? So at some point, I have to accept those situations. That's how I feel. And this self-forgiveness is so important, yeah. You know, that's all I've got to say, really. I have to forgive myself, you know, to be able to move on, you know, so, and keep to do the right thing and stay clean and sober, basically, which I'm very grateful for today. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, karma is, you know, I think you could probably work out a scientific equation for it. You know, if you keep doing nice things, then inevitably nice things will happen to you. If you mix with nice people, you know, again, nice things are likely to happen to you. If you go around doing things that are a bit unsavoury, but unskillful, but unhelpful, with a crowd that, you know, aren't the best friends as such, you know, you're likely to get into trouble. It's not rocket science, it's just a law of probabilities. And you know, karma isn't fate. Karma, it means action. So we are responsible for our thoughts, words, and actions. And you know, this is all everything fits together like a giant jigsaw puzzle. I'm drawn to Buddhism because it gives me a framework and a language to describe my experience, to describe the experience of being human. So in the same way, positive psychology gives me, again, a framework and a language to describe my experience through that language. Stoicism does the same thing, a framework and a language to describe life through that lens. But I particularly like the framework and language of Buddhism. And this idea that my thoughts, my words, and my actions have results is very important. So, and not to be dismissed. And that then ties in with mindfulness. What do I keep in mind? What do I remember to, you know, what do I need to remember? I need to remember to speak kindly, speak truthfully. I need to remember, you know, not to harm people, not to take things that aren't mine. I need to keep things in mind. This is mindfulness. So what's helpful to keep in mind? When we act unskillfully, unwholesomely, it's a mindless action, mindless thoughts, mindless words, mindless actions. It just all fits together like a jigsaw puzzle. And the Buddha didn't so much say, you know, there's bad karma and good karma. He just said there's dark karma and bright karma, bright results and dark results.
I mean, I'm really talking about karmic results from past actions and how, if it's possible to transcend those so you can still become enlightened even though you've made bad things in the past, you know?
Well, I don't know what enlightenment is. I've got no idea. Not something I'm chasing. I just want to move through life without leaving any more damage behind me.
There is a story about that guy that murdered 100 people and had the teeth around his neck, isn't there, who became enlightened?
Yeah, Angulimala, yes. Yeah. So no one is irredeemable. Okay. We have the power to change our life in the next thought, with the next word, with the next action.
So there's hope, basically. Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew?
So there's hope, isn't there, for anybody?
There's always, there is hope. It's what the Buddha promises us. To move away from avoidable suffering. There's some suffering we can't avoid. COVID-19, you know, is suffering. And lots of people have paid the ultimate price, or not the ultimate price so much as, you know, untimely and perhaps unnecessary deaths. But death is a matter of you know, life, as it were.
Vince, can I ask something?
Of course you can. Is that Nikki?
Yeah, I'm going to stop you before I forget.
Okay.
And it's about karma, actually. Vince, thanks for doing the meeting, by the way, the group. Can I ask about karma then? Because I get a bit confused about this stuff. I have it can feel a little bit punishing. So if for instance, so I get what you're saying that, I feel like I need to shout. I don't know why. I'm shouting down me. Not that far away from you. You're miles away, Vince. So if I understand about it's a good thing to try and be kind in your actions and words for lots of reasons. Yeah, I get that. But because of being human, I get that wrong a lot. And that feels it's unfair that I'm getting ticked off with loads of bad karma because I'm trying my best, but I'm unskillful a lot of the time. Some of the times I'm not, I've got better, but it feels a little bit, do you know what I mean? I feel it can be unfair. I feel like I'm trying my best and I'm making a lot of mistakes. Or is that about intention then? It's about intention as well, isn't it? My intention.
It's very much about intention. So, I'll go back to that talk that the Buddha gave to those villagers, the Kalamars, when he said, what leads to, you have to decide for yourself what leads to benefit and welfare and what leads to suffering and misery. He said, once you've done that, once you know what leads to suffering, what leads away from suffering, then he says, then you've got to start practicing loving kindness, universal friendliness in all directions. You've got to incline your heart in all directions, and then compassion in all directions. Incline your heart towards compassion in all directions. Incline your heart towards joy and appreciation in all directions. And then incline your heart towards equanimity, self-balance in all directions. So these are the things that we keep in mind. When it comes, mindfulness is about remembering something you've heard. Mindfulness is about keeping something in mind that's going to be helpful. So what you might keep in mind is, oh, I shouldn't say that. Or, oh, that's going to lead to suffering. But when we build up these attitudes, these qualities, these characteristics, these 4 faces of love, that becomes characterized. So, I stop myself swearing, or stop myself telling someone off. At least I try to. That's the intention. That's the intentionality that goes with the truthfulness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't sound so convinced.
Well, I think that's definitely progress then, isn't it? Because if I think about when the beginning of my not taking substances, if you like, when I stopped doing that, the rawness, I was really unskillful but I was acting out of hurt. So what are you expected to do then when you've just literally, you're new in a life of no longer using? That's, I'm more skillful now and I'm more aware, but at the beginning I wasn't very self-aware. So it's a journey. So
we stick with it, and we this commitment to keep moving step by step, bit by bit, away from the unskillful towards the skillful. We're not going to do it overnight. I'm not St. Vincent. I've been sober for 23 years. I'm not St. Vincent. I'm doing my best. I have an aspiration not to cause harm, not to hurt anyone, including myself. So it's about looking after myself as well as not harming others, and it's an aspiration. We hold on to that and keep that in mind. And it's not fatalistic, and it's all about, again, it's all about viewpoint. I was at a talk in Dharamsala last year, a 3-day talk on a famous Tibetan middle way discourse. And the monk opened up by saying, well, if you don't believe in future lives, none of this is going to make any sense. Well, I don't believe in future lives. I've got my work's in this life. So, if you have a view, well, I've got future, there will be future lives. So what I do, the karma I generate in this life will be carried forward. Then that's, it's a viewpoint you might have. It's not one that I particularly find helpful or applies to me. My thoughts, words, and actions have results today in this life. Seeds I sowed 23 years ago are coming to ripen now, and they're coming to ripen very positively. The seeds I sowed in getting sober are ripening, are blossoming now into a life that I could never have imagined before. So unless you plant the seed today, it's never going to ripen. Unless you set that intention today, it's never going to grow. Does that make any sense? So I'm very conscious of time. It is 9 o'clock. Thank you all so much, because I didn't know what format we would use or how the evening would unfold. I think we might have been able to do it a bit more skillfully with perhaps getting people to type their questions in the chat box, and I could have worked my way through the questions. I hope, though, that you found it of some use. I suppose we'll find out next week when only 3 people turn up for next week's talk. But there are 2 online sit and share meetings which are loosely based around this path on Mondays and Thursdays. You're very welcome to come and sit with us on Zoom. You can look them up on the 5th Precept website. As I say, the Hungry Ghost booklet is just pulling all the 5th Precept path together for a retreat format. The Forgiveness booklet is freely available to download, and we'll be going through forgiveness in a few weeks' time. Does anyone have a burning question to ask before we have a 5-minute closing meditation?
Sorry, Vince, I just need to say that chat is disabled by the looks of it.
Ah, okay. We're learning as we go along.
Yeah.
Is chat disabled?
Well, when I go into chat, because I was just going to say goodbye and thank you, it's been amazing, but when I go into chat, it says disabled, chat disabled.
Okay, we'll look at that for next time. We're learning as we go along. So, okay. All right, then. I'm going to ask you then to mute your microphones. If you want to turn your video off, please do. We're going to have a 5-minute Brahma Vihara meditation to close the evening. So if you'd like to, let's say, mute your microphones. And again, we take a posture as best we can in whatever position we're in. We're not doing formal meditation. We're not sitting on cushion, or some of us might be, but most of us are sitting on chairs and sofas. We take an upright, dignified posture. We let our eyes gently close if it's comfortable for you. Let your face be soft, your jaw relax, your shoulders drop back to open up the heart area. Let your arms and hands rest easily. And perhaps take a very deep breath in. And a very long, slow breath out, deliberate breath out. Feeling the breath in the whole body. This meditation was inspired by one of my teachers, Christina Feldman, who presents these qualities of friendliness and compassion and joy and equanimity in a very unique way, and as much in relation to our present moment experience as in relation to other people. So I'm going to offer you some phrases to recite silently, like a whisper at the back of your mind. And just recite each phrase and check in with your heart area. See what resonates and what doesn't. Whatever you find in your heart area, whether you find acceptance or resistance, it's of no matter. We just brings kindness and compassion to it. And we'll recite these 4 phrases for 5 minutes and just incline our mind to being a little bit different in the world. So silently, like a whisper at the back of our mind, may I find stillness in the midst of chaos. May I be at ease in the midst of discomfort. May I be safe and well in the midst of uncertainty. and may I live with kindness in the midst of all that is difficult. May I find stillness in the midst of chaos. May I be at ease in the midst of discomfort. May I be safe and well in the midst of uncertainty. May I live with kindness in the midst of all that is difficult. Okay, next week we're going to look at generosity, at dana, and what dana means, this cultivation of generosity, of contentedness. But you can practice dana before then in a couple of different ways. One way is generosity. Dana is practiced in thoughts, in words, and in deeds. It's karmic. So one of the ways you can practice dana before next week is if you'd like to drop me an email at Vince Cullen at tara-detox.org. I think it's on your registration email. If you have anything you'd like to raise or any other questions you'd like to ask, or particularly, would you like this session to go on for an hour and a half, so we have more talking and more discussion, and even breakout rooms for other discussions? If you have any thoughts, any ideas, I'd very much welcome them. And to do that is an act of generosity, is an act of dana. The other act of dana, if you these talks are offered absolutely freely. The downloads are available freely. The intention behind it was simply to do more during this time of difficulty. This seems a perfect opportunity to offer these teachings, to offer these principles and practices to everyone, to make them more widely available. So they are offered with an open heart, open hands, and open mind. But if you'd like to offer dana, a donation towards my costs and my livelihood, that'd be absolutely fine. But it is voluntary and optional, and the link is on your email, and it was on the invitation to these sessions, and there's a dana link or a donation link on the Hungry Ghost website. So thank you all very much. I'd just like to end tonight by saying thank you for your presence, thank you for your patience with the technology and getting used to this format, and thank you very much for your practice tonight. So thank you all. And if we unmute all, if you just want to shout out good night or whatever.
Thank you, Vince.
Thanks, Vince. Lovely to see so many wise friends here.
Yeah, if you have any ideas, email them to me. Say sit and share tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and sit and share on Monday at 8 o'clock. And next Wednesday at 8 o'clock, we'll practice generosity, and we'll investigate, explore what that might mean, and how that it may be of benefit directly to ourselves.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vince.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Good night. Right, everyone.